story that I wanna hear.
Who knows what penultimate means? Penultimate. Look it up. Google it. Penultimate. This is our penultimate episode before the school holidays. And this week we have a story about tall tales, about how words can be sometimes silly, a remote-controlled aeroplane. We've got a story about chooks, a story about Dracula, and a sheep goes climbing. We've also got a couple of prizes to give away. Oh, blimey, what a show. Let's kick it off with some tall tales, though, shall we?
Richie had got himself into a right pickle. When he first moved to the big city, he felt out of place somehow, like he didn't fit. He felt invisible. He spent a long time in his own. None of the other kids were mean to him exactly, but none of them really took much notice of him either. One day his mum sent him to school with a big bag of lollies. "Share these with the other kids," she said. So he did. But he added a bit of his own too. He told the other kids that he had so many lollies because his parents owned a lolly factory. Said he could get as many as he liked, any time he liked. The other kids were interested, wanted to know more. So Richie told them more. He told them that he had a pet giraffe, which only came out at night because it was a special sort of nocturnal giraffe from northern Scandinavia. The other kids thought that was pretty neat. Richie spent ages each evening pulling pieces off the tree outside his bedroom window to make it look as if it was giraffe munched. A giraffe was much more interesting than his real pet, a guinea pig called Boris. He told them that he had a rare tooth disease, which meant that he couldn't play soccer with them at lunchtime. He would just have to sit and watch. His friends treated him very carefully and allowed him to sit watching their games on a big pile of their bags and sweaters. Richie had failed to mention that he wasn't much good at soccer. On tour to the States with his rock band, he was the bass guitarist. His friends' eyes widened as they realised that one of their friends was on the brink of international stardom. Richie spent his entire holiday in Timaru creeping around wearing dark glasses, just in case he was recognised. He told them that he had a big sister Elizabeth who snuck him into R16 movies and taught him how to swear. His friends were jealous that he had someone to take him places and show him grown-up things. Mum wondered why there was a sign attached to the hot water cupboard door saying, "Liz's room, do not disturb." He even told them that his granny had died. His friends thought he was extremely brave and were extra kind to him that week. Richie's granny wasn't too happy about it when she heard that she was supposed to be dead. The final tall tale was when he told them that his family were, in fact, European royalty, but that they didn't like to talk about it much. His friends thought that was amazing. They had never met anyone so important before. Dad was very confused, but thought it was also quite funny that all of Richie's friends had started bowing and curtsying when he came into the room. Richie was finding it increasingly hard to remember what he'd said, who he was supposed to be, where he was supposed to have gone, why he'd started these tall tales in the first place. He started to have trouble falling asleep at night, worrying about being found out. He hadn't meant to lie. Bags were starting to show under his eyes, and he felt slightly sick all the time. So he decided, slowly and subtly, to undo the tall tales that he'd been telling. And if by the end of it his friends didn't think he was interesting enough for them anymore, then so be it. At least he would stop feeling sick. So he said that his parents had sold the factory and he wouldn't be able to bring lollies to school anymore. "Phew," said his friends. "We were beginning to get a bit sick of all the Jaffas, pineapple lumps, minties, jelly tots, lifesavers, snifters and jet planes. And we never had anything to bring you except for apples and nuts." He said that he'd swapped his nocturnal giraffe for a guinea pig called Boris. It was much easier and cheaper to look after. "Cool," said his friends. "Can we come round and have a look at the weekend?" He said that his rare tooth disease had been cured. "Great," said his friends. "You can be the ref for our soccer games. We didn't like to ask you before in case your teeth fell out when you blew the whistle." He said that his band had broken up due to artistic differences. "Oh well," said his friends, "maybe we can start a school band instead. You can be in charge of choosing the music that we play." He said that Elizabeth had gone away to university. "Never mind," said his friends. "There'll be plenty of time to swear when we're properly grown up." He said that his granny had been found alive. "Crikey," said his friends, "that's a bit of luck." And he said that his family had renounced their royal title. "That's okay," said his friends. "Now you're just like us." Just like us. That's not so bad, thought Richie.
G'day, I'm Ronnie. This is That's the Story, and if you would like me to do a little bit of a shout out to you in your classroom, then all you have to do is head for our website, that'sthestory.co.nz. Click on Contact Us and send me a message from there. And it might be your classroom I'm saying g'day to very, very soon. Now, aren't words just ever so slightly silly?
That's the story, just the way we like it.
I once blew a blue kazoo, once read a red magazine. I once saw a man saw some wood, and I've been and seen a bean. I once wondered whether the weather was fine, while sharing a shearing shed. Once sailed on a sail to witness a sail, then spoke of spokes instead. I waited and waited for my weight to drop. I lie while I lie down. I saw a bird soar through the sky, then it flew through the chimney's flue. I ate and I ate a delicious number 8. I bowed at the bough of a tree. I calculated pi with a slice of pie, and I threw something through the air. I neat some neat, I tire of tires, I write right-handed, and left my left alone. I ran to Iran.
Who am I? You know the drill. I'm about to give you some clues, and from those clues I'd like you to try and guess who it is that I'm talking about. I've also got some prizes for this. The first 4 classrooms to send in correct answers are into winning 2 books, Fledgling's First Flight and Wise Old Whiskey. You can use Google if you'd like, so listen very, very carefully. Here come those clues.
What's his name? What's she called? I think I know who that is. Who could it be? Let's wait and see what the clues are to this quiz.
This gentleman was born in Ayrshire, Scotland on August the 6th, 1881. He attended medical school in London and graduated in 1906. He studied bacteriology. He assisted in battlefield hospitals in France during World War I, where he observed soldiers dying of septicemia or some infection in spite of surviving initial battlefield wounds. In 1927, he investigated the properties of Staphylococci. The laboratory where he discovered and tested penicillin is now a museum named after him in St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. He made the discovery of penicillin public in 1929 after conducting many experiments. The research did not stir up enough interest, though he published a report in the British Journal of Experimental Pathology, and he continued to work on the mould for several years. The penicillin mould was purified and became a very viable antibiotic all over the world, due to the efforts of Howard Florey and Ernst Chain during World War II. He received the Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine in 1945, along with Florey and Chain. He was knighted as a Knight's Bachelor in 1944. He died of heart failure in London on March the 11th, 1955, at the age of 73. In 1999, Time magazine named him one of the 100 most important people of the 20th century.
What's his name? What's she
So, do you think you know who it was I was talking about? Don't ask your teacher, they don't know, I haven't told them either. Don't forget, the first 4 correct entries are into winning Fledgling's First Flight and Wise Old Whiskey, 2 really cool books. In the meantime, let's have a story about a remote-controlled aeroplane.
Dorian had waited a long time for this day. He had saved all his money from his birthday and Christmas. His Uncle Gwyn visited often throughout the year and always left Dorian with a gold coin. He had saved all of those too. Dorian had a habit of looking at the footpath whenever he walked to school, or to the shops, or to the skateboard park, To others, he may have looked a little down in the dumps. He wasn't. Dorian was looking for coins people might have dropped. He found heaps of 20-cent pieces, the odd 50-cent piece, and on the odd occasion even a $1 or $2 coin. He had saved all these up in a jar, and that jar was nearly full. Dorian had done jobs, chores and errands for money and saved every single last bit of it. Dorian was even his big brother's slave for the day for $5. His big brother had made him clean his room, make his bed. He even had to give his big brother a foot massage. Icky as it was, Dorian was determined to make as much money as he could. You see, Dorian had a goal. Quite a hefty little goal it was too. He needed $298 exactly, and for an 8-year-old, that was a lot of money. His dad would often comment that for a 38-year-old, that was a lot of money. And Dorian was 100% positive he was going to save that money and achieve his goal. His goal? The Super Cub remote-controlled aeroplane. The box said you could teach yourself to fly. The box said it had ACT, anti-crash technology that made it almost impossible to crash and easy to learn. The box said no experience needed. And the box said $298. It was a hard slog, a full 8 months of working and saving and going without, but Dorian had finally saved up the $298 and bought his Super Club remote-controlled aeroplane with anti-crash technology. It was a little disappointing getting it home only to find it needed 3 hours to charge the battery. But what was 3 hours when he'd just waited 8 months? His moment had finally come. It was a picture-perfect day, not a cloud in the sky, just the slightest of slightest breezes, and he was ready. Super Club remote-controlled aeroplane with anti-crash technology in one hand, the remote control in the other, he launched it into the air, and with all the grace and finesse of a brick, it very quickly nosedived into the ground and snapped in two, rendering the engine useless and the plane unflyable. Dorian just stood for a moment with his remote control in his hand, not quite knowing what to do. As a single tear rolled down his cheek, his dad came running over, waving a magazine around. "Look at this, Dorian!" His dad showed him a picture of a build-it-yourself trolley. Dorian carefully gathered up all the bits and pieces of his Super Club remote-controlled aeroplane with anti-crash technology and gently placed it in the rubbish bin, closed the lid and said, "Can we build it this weekend, Dad?"
Have you got any pets at home? Any strange pets at home? Here's a story about some chooks.
We've got chooks. It's my job to feed them and check for eggs. I feed them before I go to school in the morning and then again at night. Usually I feed them grain and check they have enough water too. But yesterday, they had something special. Really special. Although it was an accident, really. Not far from the chook house, there's a compost bin. We put in all our old fruit and veggie scraps. We put it in there. My parents are trying to be organic. It stinks and I don't like taking the lid off. Oh, it makes me puke. Well, anyway, yesterday my friend Maya came over to see if I wanted to make daisy chains with her in the far paddock. She's my best friend. Of course I wanted to. But Mum said I had to feed the chooks first and put a jar of rotten old plum jam in the compost bin. Maya didn't mind. Her parents are trying to be organic too, so she understands about compost and stuff like that. We skipped over to the chook house, because it's far more fun than walking. I was carrying the jar of mouldy old plum jam, and I had to go in and change the water. Sometimes the chooks stand in it and splash it out and all around the place. So I put down the manky plum jam and changed the water. I checked if there were any eggs and gave them their grain. Maya and I had a race to the far paddock. That's where the best daisies for chains are. The stems are long and easy to split. That's how we make chains. We put a slit in the stem with your fingernail and then threw the next daisy through. We made crowns and bracelets, necklaces, rings. We stopped making chains when the sky started to go pink. It'd be dark soon, we had to go home. I felt like a princess when I walked in the door. Mum said I looked lovely. Then she asked me where the jar was from, the stinky old plum jam. As well as being organic, she also recycles. Oh, I could feel my daisies wilting. "Where is it?" she asked again. This time she didn't sound very organic. I turned and ran out the door. Mum was right behind me. She wasn't trying to chase me or catch me to tell me off. She knew what had happened. She was racing for the chook house too. We both held our breath as we looked through the wire of the chook house. There inside were all our chooks on wobbly legs, staggering and swaggering around and around and around, and flop! Around and around and around and plop! The chooks had eaten the bad plum jam. It had made them all drunk! Drunk chooks! Mum went and got the jar. She tried not to smile. This is no laughing matter. She said in her best I'm not going to giggle voice. Don't let it happen again, missy. The chooks didn't look well the next morning. In fact, for the next 3 days they looked sick. They didn't lay any eggs either, not for a week. Mum was really mad about that. I guess now was not the time to tell her that none of this would have happened if her plum jam wasn't so bad.
You rang. Step into my dungeon and see all my monsters, my ghouls and my werewolves too. To step through the door and see all the gore and see my collection of poo.
Come inside!
Visit my castle, it's really no hassle to show you around all the scenes.
Step this way!
The secret passages and secret messages, and listen to all of the screams. Welcome to Dracula's lair.
Come inside!
Where there's nothing really to fear.
Really, there's nothing.
'Cause down underneath I haven't got teeth, and I'm afraid of the dark. Walk into my haunted old house.
Come in.
Where the scariest thing is a mouse.
A mouse?
Welcome to the scariest place, where you're sure to get a smile on your face. You'll walk out laughing to see monsters bathing with bubbles and rubber duckies.
What's so funny?
Welcome to Dracula's lair.
Come inside!
Where there's really nothing to fear.
Nothing at all.
'Cause down underneath I haven't got teeth, and I'm afraid of the dark. Walk into my haunted old house.
Come in.
Where the scariest thing is a
Who
mouse.
said mouse?
Come inside and look about.
Take it all in.
And if you need anything, just shout.
I'll be waiting.
So, Dracula's pad. How would you like to draw a picture of what you think Dracula's pad might look like? Send it in to me. Head for our website, that'sthestory.co.nz. Click on Contact Us and you can send me your pictures from there. A picture of what you think Dracula's pad might look like. That'll be interesting. Now, Barney. He's a sheep. He's about to go climbing. Anything can happen on Aunt Nora's farm.
One day Barney the sheep was munching away at the grass in his paddock. The sun was shining, it was a lovely day, and Barney was pretty happy with life. Not excited, mind you, but still. And as he took another grass mouthful munch, he heard a voice from the other side of the paddock fence. "Hello, Barney." It was Norman the fish on his bicycle. "Hi, Norman," said Barney. "What you up to today?" asked Norman. "Oh, nothing much. Same as usual. Eat grass, and maybe later I'll eat some grass," said Barney. "What about you?" "Oh, I thought I might cycle into town and maybe later play tag with Ernie the eel, or maybe the flying pigs might take me for a spin." "Oh," sighed Barney, "sounds lots of fun." Are you unhappy, Barney?" asked Norman. "Oh, not unhappy, just bored. I always do the same things all the time, every day." "But you did have that excitement in the big storm," reminded Norman. "That was a long time ago. I just never do anything these days." "Take a leaf out of my book," suggested Norman. "Why, is it a tasty leaf?" asked Barney. "It's an expression," said Norman. "It means do like I did." What did you do?" asked Barney. "I said to myself, you're a fish, Norman, but you can do anything at all. Just pick what you want." Dunno. What do I want to do?" asked Barney. "Just pick something, anything, something you've never thought of before, something a sheep just wouldn't be expected to do. Dream, Barney, dream. It's how I became the fish that rides a bike. What will you do, eh? spluttered Barney, looking wildly around, looking all about the paddock, and his eyes lit on the tree. The tree was very tall indeed and straight, with hardly any branches on the side but quite a few at the top. It just went up and up and up. The tree had stood on the corner of the paddock for as long as Barney could remember. Occasionally a bird would settle on some of the branches at the very top and sing a bit. Barney rather envied those birds being able to fly wherever they wanted and do whatever they wanted, like sitting at the top of a tree. "I want to climb that tree," bleated Barney. "Climb a tree?" said Norman. "Right to the very top," finished Barney. "Aha, the very top," Norman thought, and he said, "Well, let's go over and have a look." And so Barney trotted and Norman cycled over to the tree. "Very tall," said Norman. Maybe too tall," bleated Barney. No, not at all," said Norman firmly. "Up you go." "All right," said Barney, and he started to climb. It was truly a strange sight. Sheep aren't known for their climbing at all. "You're doing really well," called Norman up to Barney, "'cause sheep aren't known for their climbing." "I can see why," bleated Barney from 10 metres up the tree. "It's pretty hard climbing up a tree with hooves." "Keep going, you're doing fine," shouted Norman up the tree. "Wow," he thought to himself, "that sheep can really get a wriggle on. He's nearly at the top." "I'm at the top," called down Barney. "Bah! I can see for miles. I can see Aunt Nora's house. I can see Jolly Roger on the Bouncing Buccaneer. I can see Woody the Talking Tree. He's waving at me. Hi, Woody!" "Gee, he looks like a twig, 'cause he's so far away. So far away. So little. Bah, I want to get down." "Oh, now, there's a challenge," said Norman. "What do you mean, a challenge? I just want to come down the tree." "I know that when I got on the bike for the first time, it took me 4 days to work out how to get off." 4 days?" wailed Barney. "Yeah, I just said I was determined, never that I was very bright," said Norman. "But I can't stay on the very tip-top of this tree for 4 days. I mean, my hooves are starting to go to sleep already." "Oh, now, don't let that happen," called Norman, "'cause then you'll lose your grip and..." "Here I come!" "Fall," said Norman. "Oh dear." He watched Barney plummet down the side of the tree, knocking off a branch here and there and building up a tremendous speed. And then he hit the ground with a boing as his thick woolly coat bounced him back into the air to do a somersault and land back down on all 4 hooves. "Meh, meh, meh, that's enough excitement to last me 5 weeks, I think. Meh, back to eating grass with this sheep. Meh, meh." And that was just what Barney did, while Norman couldn't wait to get on his bike and spread the story to everyone, including Woody, who'd been convinced he was seeing things, but he saw a sheep waving to him from the top of the tallest tree around.
That's my lot for another week. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Join me again next week for our last show of the term. Until then, ka kite anō.
I wanna hear the one about the big old plum tree. I wanna